Happy New Year to you. I guess unless you live in Puerto Rico, which just went through this massive energy grid collapse. And to me, weirdly, it was super under discussed. So while most of us were partying for New Year's or having a nice time, looking forward in optimism, right? The island that belongs to the United States is part of the United States, filled with United States citizens, went in complete dark, right? And it's odd to me because if any other state in the United States had something like that happen, right? If Florida just suddenly lost power, the entire state lost power on New Year's Eve, we'd be talking about it. It'd be a huge thing. There'd be all of these complaints and concerns, right? But not for Puerto Rico, which is part of the United States. It's a territory of the United States. The people who live there are citizens of the United States. So what's going on? Well, one thing is part of the reason why the United States doesn't seem to care that much is because if you live on the island as a citizen of the United States, you can't vote for like president. So as I mentioned before, things like that really affect the way that politicians act. Politicians act to motivate voters, right? It's basic Darwinianism, right? It's survival. If you can't vote for me, I'm not going to waste my time concerning myself with your well-being, tragically. And so that's one thing that has a horrible negative effect on Puerto Rico. Another major problem that they have is they have massive, just crushing debt. So their energy grid is something that they have a lot of trouble fixing because they have all of this debt and often the corruption that comes with debt. And you're like, well, where's that debt come from? It must be their fault. Well, it actually comes from a 1917 federal law that was passed that allowed people to loan money to Puerto Rico without taking on tax obligations locally in the state you reside in or federally. So you can loan money to them and get money paid back, usually in the form of other debt in Puerto Rico, without paying any taxes at all. And so the ways for them to solve the problem, because they don't have federal support the way other states do, is to take on more debt to pay off their debt. And so it's a huge problem, massive issues of poverty and layoffs, because they're in this crushing debt issue. Now, that law was passed at the same time it gave Puerto Rican citizen status. And I was very confused by that because the person who signed in the law was Woodrow Wilson, who was president, who is a notorious racist. And I realized, oh, the reason why he did it is because they wanted more citizens who could fight. They wanted more soldiers who could fight in World War I. So in other words, we were like, yes, come here, be citizens so you can fight for the United States. And we've abandoned them ever since.